Well, it's a dark and stormy day right here. Not a dark and stormy night, but it reminds me of the dark and stormy nights in Sheepy Wimpy Wompy. Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy, now called me. Let's see, because on some of those dark and stormy nights, especially around Halloween, they have a big party, and it is hosted by the ghost host. The ghost host with the most, who loves his toast. And every Halloween, every year on Halloween, throw a big party. Big party, costume party, people dressed up, talking animals dressed up as humans, humans dressed up as talking animals, or both, or either. It was a fantastic party, and you know what he served? He served toast, all kinds of toast, cinnamon toast, regular toast, oh, rye toast, brown toast, buns, buns that were made into toast, all kinds of whole wheat and non-dairy and everything you could imagine, and all with wonderful toppings, because the ghost host loved his toppings so much. He had honey and jams, all sorts of jams made from all the fruit trees in Sheepy Weepy Wimpy Wompy, and jams and marmalades and different kinds of honeys from the bees. Oh, it was a huge party, and everybody dressed up in their costumes, and then because at midnight there would be the big reveal of who was wearing what, and then before that everybody had to guess, and they put their guesses in the big ghost house magicette, and everything would go in there. So it was a wonderful last Halloween was just amazing. There were so many people, and there were a couple of people dressed in just gorilla costumes that nobody had ever seen before. Nobody could guess who they were. So there's uh, Monsieur Frosted Tot Smiley Wiggle was very curious about these two. There was something oddly familiar about one, and he just couldn't figure it out. And so he said to Doctor Farquhar, Ferris Wheel Friendly, Farquhar Friendly, hey Friendly, what do you think that's amazing costumes those people are wearing? Don't you think? And he said, yes, they are. Of course they are. They're wonderful. But who are they? And nobody would recognize them, and everybody was guessing. And so it was getting close to the time for the big reveal, but Smiley Wiggle was suspicious, so he followed those two gorillas when they went outside. And oddest thing, they had measuring tape when the other had a notebook in his pocket, and what gorilla has pockets in his costume? That was very odd. And they started to measure some stuff and that. And then Smiley Wiggle, he thought, oh, I recognize that walk. I know that walk. That is my father's walk. And when the gorillas came back into the house, he shouted, hey, Victor, vomit! And the gorilla turned, and everybody went absolutely silent, dead quiet, because they knew Victor Vomit was still after the town. He wanted to buy it to build rich mansions for snobby rich people. And then the Victor Vomit and his colleague, they took off. They ran right out the door, and they were aiming to run fast to the big limousine that they had hidden in the way down the road. Oh, and everybody was upset and started and wanted to chase them, but Smiley Wiggle said, no, no. And the ghost said, ghost host said, I'll take care of this, no worries. And he took off, he flew out, because ghosts can fly, and he flew out down the road after them, as did Smiley Wiggle and Dr. Farquhar. And so they went, and then they caught up with them, and when Victor turned around because he saw the big ghost, he was so scared he tripped and he fell right in a mud puddle. And he had to take his mask off because the mud was leaking all through now the gorilla costume. And he was yelling for his driver who was at the car, come quickly, back up. But the doctor was scared because the ghost house grew bigger and bigger and bigger to the size of a massive air balloon. And it was scary, so they all were frightened. And Victor screamed, and Smiley Wiggle and Farquhar hadn't caught up yet, so they didn't see what was going on, nor did they see that the tricksy gnome jumped into the trunk of Victor's car, because the driver was so scared he hit the wrong button on his key. Instead of starting the car, he opened the trunk, which just made things worse. And so Victor just jumped right in the trunk and took off, and the other gorilla he just left behind, and he ran into the woods, and nobody ever saw him again. So Victor was very scared, and then he heard his son yell, Father, you'll have to stop trying to buy Sheepy Wimpy Wompy now called Mare. You can't do that anymore. And he didn't hear anything 'cause Victor was stuck in the trunk, and they drove off to the big city. Everybody calmed down. The ghost host shrunk himself back to regular size, and then they threw a bigger party to celebrate that they'd gotten rid of Victor Vomit once again. And it was a wonderful time with the ghost host toast with all kinds of topping. Even lettuce, which was the favorite of many of them now that it was no longer lousy, which was that trick Victor tried to play on them to get them to move in that other story. But that's all done. And so they had a great Halloween party with the ghost host with the most, and everybody had their favorite kind of toast. That's the story, and that's the truth.